Hey there YouTube, it's Bobi, aka Paginator, and I'm here today to talk about the January TBR that I've already somehow finished. Alright, so if you watched my January TBR video, you know that I have 5 books selected. Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune, Hidden by Helen Frost, Elatsoa by Darcy Little-Badger, and The Disappearance of Mars Patel by Sheila Chari. A couple, let's see, 2 of those are in my classroom, so I can't hold them up to show, but I'll insert a picture for you when I get to those ones. Actually, you know what? 3 of them are, because I let my librarian friend borrow Ugly Love. Moving on. Okay, first I have to say, I hope that I'm not, like, all weird and, like, fidgety and off in this video today. I had a staff meeting after school, and someone that I don't normally work with, like, they said something, and it wasn't targeted at me in any way, shape, or form, but it hit something inside of me, and my anxiety started to spike, and this person probably has no idea, and it's not their fault, because my anxiety is what it is, but it's just one of those days. Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna go through these in the order that I read them. The first one was The Unexplainable Disappearance of Mars Patel. This book is by Sheila Chari, and it is actually kind of a novelization of a podcast by the same name. And it is about a young man named Mars Patel and his friends who go to this middle school, and kids start disappearing, and the adults don't seem to be able to really do anything about it. So of course it's going to be up to the kids to discover what is making the kids disappear. Now, I can't really tell you a whole lot other than that. I can tell you there's kind of a Elon Muskish kind of guy who's a mysterious billionaire, zillionaire, whatever, who has multiple spaceships and has this private school that kids everywhere take this test to try to get into, and only the best of the best can get in. And Mars and his friends are gearing up to take this test to get into the school. We also have an element of powers. Some of the kids have powers which are amplified when they are on the island where the school is supposed to be, although when they go there, it's not there. It's weird. There's a very cliffhanger-y kind of ending, so if this isn't going to be a series, then that's a really stupid way to end a book, but I'm sure I could, like, Google it and find out if it's going to be a series. Yeah, anyway. It was a pretty good read. It wasn't my favorite thing that I've read in the last little while, but it was decent. There were a couple of problems that I had with it, like, there was a moment near the end when a big life change is happening for one of the characters, and their parent says, well, I always knew you were destined for something cool, have fun, and, like, I can't tell you what the life change is, but it's going to separate these 2 characters for a significant amount of time, and the mom's just like, okay, bye. I'm sorry, no real parent would actually act like that. So, yeah, there are a couple little things that I had issues with, which is, yeah, why it ended up, I believe, as a 3-star review rather than something higher. I have actually read a couple of other books besides these 5 during the month of January, but I'm just going to focus on the 5 for my official TBR for this video. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks, I've been driving a lot, and, yeah, before school started up again, I read a lot. Okay. So the next one that was on my TBR was Elatsoa by Darcy Little-Badger. This is a Native American story, and it is taking place in an alternate America, kind of like ours, but one in which all kinds of mythological creatures exist alongside us. And there's even, like, a registry of vampires, because it's important to know where the vampires are, you know. But Elatsoa's cousin is killed, and at first people think it was an accident, but he comes to her in a dream and says, no, girl, I was murdered. And so she makes it her mission to track down and hold responsible the one who murdered her cousin. There's a lot of magic and mythology in this book. It was very interesting, and I quite enjoyed it. I believe I gave it 4 stars. I'm going to check my bullet journal and just make sure I'm telling you the right information. I gave, yes, 4 stars. But yeah, it was well done, and if you get a chance to pick it up, I would recommend it. Do go into it knowing that you're headed deep into like a magical system, so you need to pay attention to what's going on or you're going to be super confused. Up next, I read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. The prompt for this was read a book that you were supposed to have read a while ago, and I've had this one on my shelf for quite a long time. It is a romance novel. It is written for adults, so it is not recommended unless you are an adult. That means 18 or older, kiddos. Anyway, the story itself is about 2 people who are very attracted to each other, but they want to have one of those relationships with like no emotional connection whatsoever. We're just here to spend time with each other, and we're not going to promise each other anything. Well, of course, one of the characters' feelings gets a little bit carried away, and they want more of an emotional connection and a promise of a life together in the future. There are some really emotional things that happen in this book that had me kind of going, oh my goodness. But again, lots of sexy time, so adults and above is my recommendation on the age for that one. Next was a verse novel, Hidden by Helen Frost. This is a novel written in verse, and it is about 2 girls. One was kidnapped when she was a small child inadvertently. The father of the other girl stole the first girl's mother's car, and the girl was inside. She was hiding down on the floorboards of the back seat or something, and she kept herself hidden in the garage where he put the car he had stolen. And then our second girl, the daughter of the car stealer, car thief, I know words, the daughter of the car thief, realizes that the little girl's out there and brings her some food. And then years later, these 2 meet up at a summer camp when they're older, but they immediately recognize each other, and there are some feelings between the 2 of them. Like, not romantic feelings. Like, the daughter of the car thief is upset because she thinks the girl who was stolen turned her dad in, and then the girl who was stolen doesn't want to talk to that girl because she's like, your dad kidnapped me and ruined my childhood. Like, yeah, that kind of feelings between the 2 of them, and they have to learn how to resolve those because they're at the same summer camp and they're in the same swimming group, and they better not kill each other, right? Overall, this was a pretty good read. I think I would give it like 3.5 stars. I didn't do an official Call Pile rating on this one. I would say 3.5 because I didn't feel like it was enough of like a developed plot story. You can see it's very small to like warrant 4 stars. But I did enjoy what I read. I don't know. Maybe it could still be 4 stars. I don't know. We're going to move on to the next book. The 5th and final book on my TBR this month was The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune, and this book was hilarious. Like, laugh out loud hilarious. I don't think I'm going to take it to my classroom library because there are a couple of moments in there that I was like, maybe not for middle schoolers, but it is super funny. It is about a young man named Nick who writes fan fiction about his favorite superhero, but in this world, superheroes are real, at least some of them are anyway, and Shadow Star is his crush and favorite superhero, and he is like, maybe if I become extraordinary, then Shadow Star will notice me, because he actually accidentally like meets Shadow Star in the city one day when he's in kind of a shady alleyway with his friend, and anyway, he's like more determined than ever to be together with his crush, and he's like coming up with all these crazy ideas on how he can become extraordinary. And there are a couple of different boys in his friend group. One is Seth, who is his best friend from forever, and these 2, their relationship is so like adorable, but yet also a little bit anxiety inducing, because it is very clear from page 1 that Seth is completely in love with Nick, but Nick's like oblivious does not get it. All his friends know. Everybody knows. Like, both of their parents, like, everybody knows. But he's just adorably clueless. And so it's a little bit stressful sometimes going, Nick, are you ever going to get your crap together and realize what's in front of you? Anyway. So there's that. But it's a very good read. Like I said, it's really funny. And TJ Klune is quickly becoming one of my favorite authors because, as you know, I have been gushing about The House on the Cerulean Sea, which is my favorite book of 2020. I need to read more TJ Klune books. I know he's written a bunch of different like genres and age ranges and stuff. I know he's got like a werewolfy kind of paranormal romance series. At least that's what I've heard it is. Or in all kinds of stuff. So if you've read any books of his other than this one and The House on the Cerulean Sea, let me know what you've read of his and if you would recommend it. I've got all kinds of reading plans for the upcoming future. So things are going to be happening. For the rest of January, I'm really hoping that I can keep up the momentum, but graduate school starts in a week, and I have 3 classes, all of which involve reading. So, yeah, there's that. Anyway, so this is kind of like my January wrap-up, but only a third the way through the month. And there will be other books on here that I'll talk about in the official wrap-up for the end of the month. Does that make sense? I hope so. Oh, I did want to make mention of one other thing with this book. Nick's dad is a policeman in Nova City, which is the city where they live, and this talks a lot about policemen and showing the good work that they do. It does mention that Nick's dad once did something that he shouldn't have. He kind of took out some aggression on a witness, I believe it was, and got demoted in his job for it, rightly so. But it shows Nick struggling, like, coming to the realization that you can do something bad but still be a good person. And police officers are a big part of this. Now, I had heard that some people were throwing a fit about this and were like really upset that the police officers would be showing in a good light, and like even to the point where TJ Klune's thinking about like changing up the way that the police officers are shown in the second book in the series. And okay, let's just say this. Yes, we know that some police officers are garbage. We've seen this especially throughout this last few months with things that happen in the news going back into the summertime. Like, we know this. But you can't tell me that all police officers are bad. There's no way that you're going to convince me of that. One of my former students is a police officer. She's a detective. She is one of the best human beings I know. I have a family friend who is a police officer who is a very, very good man. I also know some police officers from, I'm not going to say where they're from or, you know, names or anything, but who aren't so great. Just like in any profession or any category of people, you're going to have some good and some bad. And the fact that people are getting upset about this book showing a good policeman is irritating to me. It just is. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. If you don't want to read a book that has a good policeman in it, don't read this. Although I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't understand why that would be offensive to someone. Okay, so let's just say for the sake of argument that someone that I loved and cared about was hurt by a like evil garbage police officer. Now I could be wrong because I haven't been in this situation personally, but where my brain is right now is that I would think it might be kind of like good for my heart to see a police officer who's good at their job and is a good person and makes mistakes, receives the punishment for that, and tries to become better, which is what Nick's father is. Like, that's just kind of my thoughts on that. And I mean, we're all allowed to have our own opinions, so if you don't want to read this book because of that, that's fine. It really bothers me for some reason. It's just really, I'm so tired of the cancel culture. Like, not everything needs to be canceled, okay, guys? So just to say that. All right. So I gave this book 5 stars because it was so funny and so enjoyable, and I loved the relationships between the 4 or 5 kids in the main friend group. There was a really fun what's the word I'm looking for, like, I don't know, a fun flow to their group dynamic, I guess, is what I'm thinking. Okay, so that's it. My January TBR is done. As I'm filming this, it is the 11th of January. I actually finished the last book on the 10th, so for the rest of January, I'm going to be working on reading things for grad school, and then I also have a couple of other fun titles that I want to get to. Hopefully I'll have time for them. I'm really, really hopeful about that. And I believe that's about it for now. I do have some other reading plans and like fun things and challenges for myself in the works, but we'll find out more about those in another video. So that's all for this one. I hope you're having a wonderful and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.